Okay.
Okay, we're recording.
We're recording our
First episode.
our first episode of Dumb and Dumber. I mean, Smart and Smarter.
Exactly. So, anyways, what's your name?
Well, my name used to be David Fisher, but I changed it
You did.
legally. I did.
You were
I
not
did.
putting that on here.
Lawfully, I changed it to Mark Suck on a Burger.
He's full of it.
Look on my Facebook page.
That's not legal.
It is, lawfully legal.
That's not lawfully anything.
So anyway.
Anyways, we've got David Fisher with the Silly Goose Shenanigans. And we've got little Emerald Rain, our little baby daughter that's 4 months. So if you hear a baby in the background, it's Emerald with her little 2 cents. And then I'm Natasha Lena Renho.
Natasha? No,
I might as well just put my middle name out there.
Natasha? Marino Lando.
Naranjo.
Marino, I can't even say it all.
Well, that's why we were supposed.
No, actually I can, but
that's why we were supposed to get married, so I could be Fisher. But we don't want to.
Well, you can just
be.
Change it
We
to
don't want to
Fisher.
get married to the government.
Right. We don't want to have. We're not into.
Being in bed with Caesar.
Yeah, with Caesar. You know. Let him do his own things in bed with his own self and with whoever else wants to join. But we don't want to join that mess. That perverted mess.
So I already know that you grew up Amish, but I didn't know that when we first started talking. I remember one day you messaged me something and you said, "Oh, and you already know I grew up Amish," and I was like, "What the heck is he talking about?" Because I really had no idea. But you left when you were 17?
Mm-hmm. Well, I was closer to 18, but yeah, 17.
So how was that like? Why did y'all leave the Amish? Who did you leave with? Like, what did that look like?
That's a story that could go on for the next 10 generations. But
the gist
of it
because a lot of people hear, "Oh, you were Amish," and then it's like this big fairy tale thing,
right,
whatever.
Right.
But what was it actually? Like, what was the rundown of it, sort of?
It's pretty fairy tale-ish, you know. It's pretty fairy tale-ish. No, I mean, it's just the basics. I mean, most people have probably already heard how it works, you know. If we'd have done this podcast 10, 15 years ago, it would have been more of a, how would you say it? It would be more of a newer type of thing for most people. But most people have already seen numerous ex-Amish people have their own podcasts, have their own...
Yeah, it kind of is growing more in popularity now, I think,
right.
than what it used to be. Because when you first said that, I didn't know a lot of the things I know now. You know, since we've been together, we've had conversations. I still believe that when you were Amish, you just didn't leave. Like, it wasn't something that was just common.
Well, it wasn't back when I left.
Right, and I didn't even realize, because in Georgia, I was born and raised in Georgia, so we didn't have, like, a big Amish community around us. I had never really been around them, so I still believed it was one of those things you don't really leave. It was very rare to do.
Right, and it was for the most part back then, even though throughout the years, I mean, I've got a great uncle aunt that had left years ago. She just recently passed, and he's still here, but they had left years ago, and there were people throughout the years, even 30, 50, 60 years ago, that left the Amish, but it just wasn't as common. Right.
So why did your family leave? Because you left with your family. You wasn't just a teenager that just decided to up and go.
Well, I was. I was actually the first one to leave.
Out of your family?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I thought you left when your mom and dad left.
Well, they were already on the way out, so to speak, but they hadn't left
completely.
Yet. No.
It was a little more difficult for them because they had been more, what is it called when they're in the church?
It's called brainwashed. They had been a little more brainwashed, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's just the facts. The fact is that when you're part of a system like that, and even both my mom and dad would agree that they were brainwashed.
Right, yeah, I've heard your mom say that several times.
Which is why they chose to leave, because they discovered that the way that they were taught was not the way that it was meant to be.
Right. So.
Which is why, partly, I guess, the reason I left is because of everything that I saw going on and things that just didn't add up, didn't make sense. So I was like, you know what? It's not making sense to me, and I guess the way that probably best describes it is the way I looked at it. Okay, so in the Amish tradition, they'll say things, or they used to. I don't know how they do anymore,
Right.
but they used to say, well, if you leave the Amish, you're going to go to hell.
Right.
There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You were on your way to hell, or you were already in hell if you were thinking about leaving. And it had gotten so bad with the way, which that's all in the past now, but with the way that
you
things
don't
were going
really
at the time.
Identify with any of that anymore.
I don't.
It's almost like a whole other life
It
that
is.
you had experienced. It's
a
not
completely
even
different life. So, what was I going to say about that? That basically, the way that I looked at it was that, okay, so if, according to them, if I leave, I'm going to go to hell, to me, I welcomed hell, because I would have rather spent my eternity in hell than where we were at the point.
right.
So at that
being
point,
suppressed and all
right.
of that.
So
basically.
it makes it sound really, really bad when
because
you
it's
put
not
it
like
that
you
way.
were being abused or anything
No.
like that. Like
No.
some cultures
It was
or whatever.
just control. It was
right.
all. It was all
more of you have to
control, and I love my freedom. I love my freedom, and most people that know me and see what I post on Facebook, whatever, if they don't know who I am, then that's their fault, because I eat, sleep, and breathe freedom.
No, I know
And
that for sure.
If I can't be free like that, then I have no interest in it.
Right, you don't want to be told that you have to wear a certain color or you have to show up at a certain time.
Or I have to wear my seatbelt, because if I don't want to, I won't.
Well, you
So
didn't
that's
wear a
all part of it.
seatbelt when you were Amish
Well,
because you
no,
were riding in a
but
horse
that-
and buggy.
Right, but that's a whole different. That's a whole
right,
different.
that's a whole
but
different
it's
animal
still,
when you come out
it
here.
still plays into that
Right.
same.
But
control
out here in this universe, you're a little bit more free than what you were when you were Amish. So when you were Amish, it was even more.
Yeah, you're right.
restrained.
A little bit more free.
Yeah,
a little bit.
You have the illusion of freedom out
the
here.
key word is little.
Right.
There is. I mean, I guess for me, I wasn't so restricted when we were still Amish, because I wasn't
Aware.
Well, no, but I wasn't of age. I hadn't joined church yet.
Right. That's what. That's what it is.
So I
like your mom and dad had already
I
joined.
experienced more freedom. Actually, I almost experienced more freedom in the Amish system than I did out here so far, because in the Amish system, I hadn't been old enough to where they could fully control me yet.
Right.
So, but I knew of it, because I saw them, how they controlled my dad and tried to control my mom.
Right.
And that type of thing. Mostly, they focused on the men mostly when it comes to controlling.
Because in the Amish world, the women just do whatever the husband says too, right?
Well, to some extent, I shouldn't say that, because I guess there's probably plenty of women that have experienced control coming from their own husbands.
Right.
And what I'm talking about strictly is the control from the system, from the church itself.
But they focus more on the men because the men are supposed to be in control of their household.
Right, exactly.
So they only have to focus on the men.
So it's usually the men's fault if the woman isn't doing what they're expecting of them. So
that's why in a lot of those cases, it's always you just do whatever your husband says, no matter what. Like,
well, yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, to some degree, that's how the system was operating when I was still Amish.
It could be probably different.
But
now.
yeah, it varies. It
is more lax now, though. I think
it is a lot more lax, and it varies from house to house. It varies from church to church. So there's a whole different. I guess just a whole different. It can vary so much, even within the same families. Once the families, the children marry off or whatever, there can be huge differences in the belief of the children versus the parents, or I don't like to say parents, but anyway, that's a conversation for a whole other day. Because they're not parents, that's a pair who rents, and we don't believe in renting our children from anyone, so we don't call ourselves parents.
We're mom and dad.
Right. And then there's probably also something behind those names that...
words definitely have a lot of different meanings to it. But you basically don't... I mean, we've been together for a while now, and you don't really even associate... You don't really, even talk about being Amish too much unless you're just telling me a story here and there.
Yeah.
It's not really part of your identity at all anymore.
No, because I don't even... And it's not that I don't see the Amish as being bad people. Because I don't.
Yeah, you just don't really
I just don't
relate,
or I just don't relate with the belief system. The people, I think, for the most part, there's a lot of Amish people. They're wonderful people.
Of course.
But there's, just like in any sector of life. I mean, look at out here. We come out here, and there's a bunch of freaking people that you just want to take a sledgehammer to the face.
We don't say that on this podcast.
We don't. Did that get edited?
We're probably going to leave that in, but.
But anyway. So in every sector of life, no matter where you go,
there's good and bad.
There's good and bad, and so there's the same principle applies in the Amish community. Is that there's a tons of
and a lot of them
people.
are just innocent. They have no idea. They haven't had their eyes open.
Well,
they haven't heard of certain things.
Even if they're good Amish people, a lot of them don't even realize. Now they do more so, since so many of them have fought the system. Now there's more of them that realize how controlling the system actually is. But when we left, there were a lot of them to some degree that were innocent and didn't understand the depth of control that was happening, because they had been their own psychological mechanisms didn't function the way that somebody that sees how controlled they are. Mm-hmm. Like for us,
a lot of times when you're in the box, you don't realize you're in the box.
Exactly. So they had no idea they were even in the box.
They had no clue.
And then they tried to defend the box when somebody tried to leave the box. And it's like, wait a minute here, you don't even realize how in the box you are.
Right, because a lot of times it's their comfort zone.
Right.
And, I mean, I could only imagine, like,
So I didn't really find fault with most of those that just didn't know, that just didn't see.
Yeah, because y'all got a lot of backlash, too. I've heard stories from your mom and from you about how people came against y'all and, in the beginning when y'all first left, how they were just mean and, definitely voiced their opinion on it.
But that happens in every...
It does.
It's just like out here, okay? So now I come out here thinking that I'm free. I'm no longer controlled by the system. I'm no longer... And then I find out 5-10 years after that, after leaving, probably more like 10 to 12 years after that, before I started seeing the same patterns out here that were in there. So from 17 years old when I left to probably my mid to upper 20s. Yeah, somewhere in my mid to upper 20s where I started seeing that the same pattern that existed in the Amish religion, in the Amish system, also exists out here in the world system.
Right.
Whether it's the non-denominational Christian system or whether it's the Catholic system, the Baptist system, whatever they want to call themselves.
It's all a system to control people.
It's everything.
Exactly.
Everything is put in place to control us.
Now, with that being said, though, I do want to make it clear that I do believe in a spiritual existence and, a creator and all of that. We're talking about mainly just the organized religion.
Well, yeah,
that has all the rules and stipulations, and it's not about connecting. It's more about control. Including
that organized religion system, where I find some issue with that is that a non-denominational Christian, in most cases, would consider their system not to be a religious-based system because it's called non-denominational. So they have no denomination. They have no, in their way of believing and seeing it, they have no connection to religious organizations. What they don't realize is that the government itself is a religious organization.
Pretty much.
Right.
Yeah, it's ran by all the same umbrella.
It's ran by the whole Jesuit, what is it, the other ones? I'm not even all that familiar with how it all works and how it all is.
But it is all the same umbrella,
the
same branch, the same system.
It's all the same.
And people don't realize a lot of that, but that's all a conversation for another day.
What the hell's the other word I'm looking for? The other name. The Jesuits, the Jesuits are the Jews in a sense. I mean, that whole system.
Right.
But
Catholics.
Then, what's the other one that Jordan Maxwell always talks about?
The Catholics.
Well, the Catholics are a large part of it, but I'm talking about the Freemasonry.
Right, yeah, all of that.
All that.
Yeah, it's all one big chunk of change.
And I can see how, okay, so it's like this. you go, and we don't really do all this anymore, but I remember, years ago when it happened, we'd get Christmas candy, okay?
Uh-huh.
So look at all the different varieties and flavors of Christmas candy.
Right.
Okay, so the point being is that, yes, it's all different candy. There's candy canes, there's cupcakes, there's all this different stuff, but it's all made.
All a dessert.
It's all made for the same occasion, for the same
right.
for the same purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I look at as the whole church system, whether you call yourself a non-denominational system or a
Baptist, a Methodist, a Christian.
They're all part
Jehovah's
of the same
Witness. Yeah, it's
Christmas
all the same
candy.
branch.
It all goes back to serve that same purpose of government that is actually, in fact, a controlling beast of burden,
Yeah,
to all of society.
I got to that point where I felt that way years ago. I just never really voiced it too much because, I mean, my family, they have their beliefs or whatever, and that's fine, but I just kind of kept all of that to myself more. And then when I met you, it was like, you're putting it all out there in the open, and I'm like, well, dang, this guy's crazy. But, I have felt the same way for years. I just didn't really talk about it except for, to close friends or whatever, because it is something that you just don't really talk about very much. It's not something that is welcoming.
Right, exactly. And it hasn't. Now it's more mainstream.
Yeah, now it is, because more and more people are waking up.
Right.
More and more people are seeing the lies. They're seeing the deception. They're seeing that it was all manipulation, to control people and keep them all in order.
And I started approximately 17 years ago, maybe somewhere in that range, about 17 years ago, when I started posting these things to social media. And I'm not even going to get into all the things that I posted about.
Yeah, because it's a whole conversation.
Yeah, it's a whole conversation.
It's a whole other episode all by itself.
Exactly. But anyway, and started posting about these things, about government corruption, about just...
But those are things you're really passionate about. So for this podcast, that'll probably be topics that you want to discuss, whereas I love those topics and I'm really into them, but I don't hang my hat on that. I'm more into the herbs, the crystals, which you are too.
I am too.
You are
to
too.
Some degree.
But your fire comes from this government corruption and all of that.
Exactly. It comes from basically,
So we're going to have a mix of all kinds of things on here.
So the whole thing is, growing up Amish, it's probably where all this stems from. It
was more trauma.
So I was basically a child when I watched what my parents went through. My parents, my mom and dad, went through regarding control, regarding oppression from the system itself.
Right.
So I watched all of that play out as a child.
Right.
And so therefore, being able to see that as clearly as I did all those years ago, it wasn't very hard for me to make that same connection coming out here after about 10, 12 years, because I was still going through the healing process of what had happened, so I didn't really focus, or it didn't really come to my attention until 10, 12 years after. Mm-hmm. Then slowly but surely, all this other stuff started coming into my...
well, you kind of had a Band-Aid put over you for a little while. And then the Band-Aid started coming off. You started coming off,
and I started seeing...
It was like, here we go again. Here's this same pattern of...
The wound had started to heal, and then it's not so much that the wound started to open back up as it was that...
Here we go again.
Here we go again with a whole another system where I thought, okay, now I'm really free. And then, the whole thing about when I was... 18 years old, when I was going to a non-denominational church, and at that time,
and all the people are so friendly and they're so open, and they really are. They truly, genuinely are.
The people that are going there, and for the most part, it can even be with the pastor, where they're actually genuinely genuine about what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm. But it's just like with the Amish, they don't really realize.
Exactly. They don't realize what they're putting out there. They don't realize, and because a lot of it, with the non-denominationals in particularly, with a lot of what they claim to believe in, what they believe that they're believing in, is love-based.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's like, well, how can I be wrong if it's
if
love?
you're operating from love?
If you're operating
right.
from love.
And I always felt that way too, but it just never fully connected with me.
Exactly. So then as I looked into that more, as I listened to other people that went through similar experiences, that had their own podcasts, their own talk shows, whatever, and I observed and listened and really meditated on these things, then it became clear to me that, okay, just for example, the Bible talks about that the devil comes as an angel of light. Okay, well, what does that look like?
Mm-hmm.
If the very thing that is evil is coming as an angel of light, what does that represent? What does it look like in real life?
Right.
So then I started connecting those dots. Well, could it look like love? Could it look like...
it's all manipulation, right?
Yeah. So could it look like love? Well, to me, it was like a no-brainer. Well, now I understand, because there's so many connections to be made with all of this, to where it can be proven beyond the shadow of a doubt that even non-denominational Christians are on the wrong understanding.
Yeah, not the wrong path.
Maybe not the wrong path, but
of
the wrong understanding of what they're believing.
Mm-hmm.
Because first of all, they're tied into the government system, the beast system, whatever you want to call it, through the 501c3, I believe it is, and their own book tells them that we should not be, or how does it say? Basically, in simple terms, we should not be in bed with Caesar.
Which is why we don't believe in getting married from the government,
we don't believe, because
and
the
that's
government,
why we just stay how we are, even though we look at each other in the same way as a husband and wife,
right,
like in those terms. But we're just never going to sign a paper with the government because we don't believe in that. And that's something that we both believed separately before we were ever together. So,
because then if something does
happen, then you have to go through the government and all of that. They're in control of everything.
It's like when I was in my first marriage, which by the government married.
Right.
When we went to divorce, then I discovered, well, hell, we're not even the only two in this relationship.
Right.
I have to go through a third party to ask for permission to divorce.
Exactly.
To divorce this person, and it's like, how the hell does that make any sense? When we're the two that decided we want to be together, and we decided we're going to get married, now all of a sudden I realize that there's a third party in this marriage.
Exactly.
Now, I know to maybe a lot of people that's like, it doesn't really matter, it's not that big of a deal, and all of that. But the point being is, I thought we were supposed to get married to a man and a woman. I didn't realize that we had permission to get married to a third party.
Right.
Because isn't that kind of like, not incest is a totally other thing, but that's not monogamous. That's not being monogamous. Right. Because you think, well, they could make the argument, well, we're not having sex with the government. It's not about having sex.
No, you're still having them in your personal.
You're having that. Too many people want to make it about the sexual aspect of things, and I know that because we're sexual beings, and oftentimes everything revolves around the sexual aspect of it. When in reality, it has nothing to do with having sex.
It's just about them having control.
It's about them having control over our life, over our marriage, because then what happens is, say your child, it doesn't maybe happen fairly regularly, but it has happened where your child falls and gets a gash or a bad mark or whatnot, and a bruise, and then the government steps in, and then they're like, well, this is child abuse. Then they can take the child away from parents, which has happened a bazillion times.
All the time.
Yeah. So, and then the parents, okay, in some cases it's true. Some cases the parents actually are abusing the children.
Right.
But there's been plenty of cases where the parents never even did that. Exactly. It was an accident.
Right.
But the government
it's just about us not wanting the government in.
The government was still able to control the situation and remove the child from the home. Because
with not any proof or anything.
Right, with not any evidence. Exactly. So basically, once people start looking into it and understand and it says not to be unequally yoked. Okay, so how are we equally yoked when we're first of all going against our religious beliefs? as a Christian, we're going against our religious beliefs because we have a third party involved in our marriage. And second of all, they'll say, well, I know the way that Christians look at it. They look at it as, they don't see it as them getting permission from the government to get married. That's the part where the problem is because it's like most people aren't looking deep enough to see what the connections are, what they're connecting themselves to, what they're giving permission to. And they don't even realize that the marriage certificate is a contract.
Right.
It's a contract.
It is.
So why do we have to sign contracts to be married? Don't we supposedly have permission
because
from
we can
the
be
Creator?
Loyal to each other without the government having their business in us.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's just all...
But there I go. Now I took this whole thing...
And I knew it would, because this is what you're so passionate about, so I knew this conversation would go down this road.
Hell.
Now, you grew up Amish. I grew up in North Georgia. You always lived in Ohio until we just now moved to New York. I grew up in North Georgia, but I moved a lot. Once I turned into an adult, like I became an adult, I moved, and I haven't lived in the same city for a year, or town for a year consecutively since I was 21, I believe. Like, I've moved a lot. But, yeah, I'm from North Georgia, and my dad's actually Cuban, so his family was basically kicked out of Cuba, so in a way, I can relate to a lot of what you went through, but I didn't see it firsthand because I was it didn't happen in front of me. Like, you were a teenager when you watched your parents leave the Amish. I was a little kid, not even born yet. My dad was 16 when he came to the United States. So I didn't see that. I keep slobbering on myself. So I didn't see that. So I didn't really get to witness what all that looked like or the trauma. I've just heard stories. But yeah, so my dad is Cuban, and that's an interesting background to have.
Similar in some ways, I guess.
So I can kind of see, what your family went through, because my family went through it too in a different way. And again, it was about the government and all of that too. Government corruption over in Cuba, and Castro taking over, and then it ended up spiraling into my family being, forced out or whatever. But yeah, so we've got an interesting background, both of us. I don't know. I'm not really going to go into the background of all of that right now, but...
No, I mean, there's plenty of content to, realistically...
Plenty of conversations.
if I would have... Right, conversations, content, whatever you want to call it. There's plenty, because I've been posting things for probably 17 years, and most of it was government corruption related.
Right, and I think putting a voice with your views would help, like what you're talking about on your Facebook and all of that, because when a lot of these people read your posts, they think that you're coming from an aggressive state.
Absolutely.
But if they hear you express what you're saying, I think it'll come easier for them to understand your point of view instead of...
And I've thought about that for quite some time already.
Because you do get pretty vibrant with your expression.
The thing is, I was very well aware of that this would probably be a more...
softer on ears.
Well, I don't even know about softer on ears, but it would be more... it would give someone that's viewing from the outside in that might not know me at all, or does know me, or thinks they know me, but all of a sudden now they're like, well, now I don't even know this guy because of how he's responding or whatever.
Well, now he sounds so nice and kind, but online, if they read your post, they're probably like, goodness, what is wrong with this person?
And what I would say to that is this. For anyone that has ever met me in everyday life, in real life, if they're not understanding where I'm coming from, it's more than likely has to do with the fact that they never really knew me to begin with.
Right.
They never really took the time to get to know me. Now, I might have been around them quite often, but they never really bothered.
Know you.
Right. They never really bothered to, because let's just put it this way, in most of the circles that I've been in, because of my background, obviously, a lot of what was talked about was hunting, fishing, just not that I'm, whatever.
Yeah, because we like those things too, but it's not the depths of
right.
life.
I'm not really.
We're not really into.
I'm not really into the whole hunting thing. Fishing, I still enjoy.
Love fishing. I like that.
I still enjoy, but my whole point to all of that is the fact that.
That's like talking about the weather, basically.
Right. It's like talking about the weather. For the simple fact is, I have come to realize that there are layers behind the facade that is presented to us in everyday life. Mm-hmm. It's like whether it's the government presenting it, whether it's the media presenting it, whether it's the church presenting it, whatever it is, it's a stage, which in my mind is where the whole world stage thing comes in perfectly, because the whole world is a stage. And if we stand back and we look at that stage and we view it, we make the connections, how they're all connected to each other. Some of it's very subtly how they're connected to each other, and they don't share that. They don't share that with the people that are believing that this movement is the right movement, or they're speaking the truth, or they don't look into the fact that the very manual. In other words, if I was working on a certain vehicle, like a Ford, I wouldn't go after a Chevy manual.
Right.
I would look in the Ford manual that applies to the vehicle that I'm working on, specifically, so that I know what I need to do to fix it. Mm-hmm. Well, what a lot of Christians don't seem to understand or realize, or whatever the hell you want to call it, comprehend, is the fact that the King James Bible, I don't know how it all got messed up, twisted, withheld. I don't understand how all of that worked and who did it, who was responsible for it. I don't get all of that. But what I do understand is that there were upwards of 30, 40 entire books that were removed from it. And in that particular Bible, it says that not one jot or tittle should be removed from the entire Word of God. So if not one jot or tittle should be removed from the entire Word of God, and they went and removed at least 30 to 40 to 50 entire books out of that version, how the hell is there any truth in it? How the hell? I mean, sure, there's truth in it because the devil comes as an angel of light. He's got to use some truth. The entity, the power that be, the great deceiver, whatever somebody wants to term it as, has to present a certain amount of truth mixed in with all of the lies.
Right. Well, just like with the news, I mean, they tell us a little bit of truth with their extravagant.
They tell us that COVID exists.
Facade.
Okay, well, COVID didn't exist until they created it.
Right.
And then they weren't wrong.
So, of course,
it
exists, but they didn't tell us that, we're the ones
that created it.
Right.
So that's the whole lie, is the fact that they tell us the truth. They always tell us some truth with their bazillion lies that they come out with. So I don't even know where the hell I was going with that.
I don't know, but that's pretty much what this podcast is really going to be about. This is supposed to be just basically an introduction, a little bit of a background of what we're going to be talking about, and we'll have topics like that, but we're also going to have topics that are talking about medicinal herbs and crystals and how to, connect in those ways and different things like that.
Initially, when we first started, I thought we were both going to go more into
our own
a greater detail on our own background. Well,
Your main thing is always this.
Right. I just totally blew that one to hell and back because when I start talking about the whole
Amish part of
it. The whole government corruption and that part of it. See, like 10, 15 years ago, I probably would have gone into my Amish background more, or would have, spent a little more time talking about that. But since I've been out of it long enough now, to where sometimes I almost forget that I was Amish at one point in my life, because,
it does seem like such a different life.
So now I have other passions. I have other things that I enjoy talking about. I enjoy trying to get people to see where they're being misled, where they're being lied to, where they're being duped.
Right, that's more of the forefront of your passion and what motivates you on a daily basis.
So basically, we didn't even get to talk about, the full depth, which doesn't matter. I mean, I was born and raised Amish. as most people probably know that are going to be listening to this, unless it goes over into Guatemala, then maybe there's a few over there that haven't seen my Facebook or whatever, that don't understand where I come from and why I believe the way I believe and why I am the way that I am. But point being is that I don't know what else there really is to.
That's the gist of your thing.
Yeah, that's the gist of it.
Now, even though you don't really associate, or connect with the Amish lifestyle anymore, you're still very much into the homesteading. You're still into having the garden and all of that. A lot of people, that's what they think Amish is. It's just having an off-grid house.
Right.
But that's just a very small part of what being Amish was. It was more of a religion and being controlled, really.
Exactly. In a large sense, yeah. It had a lot less to do with being self-sustaining,
right?
Than
when
it
you
had
told
to do with
me,
religion.
Like me coming from Georgia and not being in Ohio with a whole Amish community and all that, like a lot of people are, they already had an understanding of what being Amish was. I didn't. I always just thought, oh, it's so wholesome. I had no idea it had anything to do with religion, to be honest.
Right.
Until I met you.
And most people don't.
And I just thought it was, off-grid living. Like what we want to do with our lives currently, that's what I thought it was.
Right.
So I just thought, you go and forage for your herbs. You go and you have this whole self-sustaining garden. You're not shopping at the stores. You're not, that's what I thought that it was, but that's totally not how it is for the most part, especially nowadays.
Right, and I shouldn't say that most people don't know, because actually, truth be told, more people do know about it
if it's
today,
showing up on their social media, but if they're not...
There are a fair amount of people, ex-Amish people, there's even people that aren't Amish.
But see, I had no idea. Just even 2 years ago, I had no idea.
Right.
I was still in that fairy tale way of thinking of the Amish, even just 2 years ago, because it wasn't popping up on my news feed or anything.
Right. Well, now it's all over social media. So and I still don't even see that stuff on my social media because I'm not, how the algorithm works. It's showing you what you want to see and what you're looking up and all that. I don't look stuff up like that, so I literally had no idea. Well, you're probably not friends with that many ex-Amish people.
So I'm not seeing that stuff. So if I'm not seeing that stuff, a lot of the people probably aren't.
And there are ex-Amish people that have their own podcasts, have their own whatever you want to call it. So they'll make videos and whatnot about their upbringing and their lifestyle and whatnot in the Amish.
Right.
That's probably why I'm seeing, obviously, a lot more of it than
Whereas
you are.
I see more about herbs and foraging and Native American things and stuff like that because that's what I'm exposing myself to more. Mm-hmm. But as far as like us homesteading and having chickens and having different, organic gardens and all that, that's not because of your Amish background. That's because that's what we're passionate about.
Exactly.
Aside from all of that.
Exactly.
Because a lot of people think, we should be like the Amish, because they think that they're doing these homesteading things.
Right.
So purely and so clean and so organic when that's not true.
No, it's not true.
In most cases, it's not true.
Because, truth be known, a lot of the Amish, actually probably most of the Amish, are using genetically modified seeds.
Right.
So
and
right
that's
there,
totally against what we want to do.
Right there, you're if you're into homesteading at all, I mean, I guess homesteading might mean something different to everyone.
Yeah, homesteading has a huge definition.
To me, homesteading means that you do things as organically as possible. Mm-hmm. And so the point being is you grow your food as organically as possible. And so, the Amish don't do any of that. I mean, for the most part. There are some that probably do, I'm sure. But the vast majority of them are growing the genetically modified seeds and aren't doing things very
wholesome.
Right, they're not doing things very wholesome or organically or a lot of them are using more modern equipment than they once did, which I'm not against using modern equipment. My point is I would prefer, I'd rather use horses for most things.
And that's what I think a lot of people think that the Amish does, is they're doing things like that. Whereas in reality, they're nowadays just going to Walmart and buying everything.
Exactly.
Just like regular people.
A lot of them are. There's no there's not that much of a difference between the Amish that I grew up in. Now, there are obviously stricter Amish organizations, religions, whatever, that do things more the homesteading type way, but it also comes with a ton of religious restrictions and rules and regulations and control and all of that. But the Amish where I grew up in, there's not that much difference between them and the way we're living currently. As far as they have all the modern conveniences, all they have to do is most of them own their own vehicles. They have their own vehicles. They just pay a non-Amish guy to haul them to work and wherever else they want to go.
Yeah, so they're paying for the vehicle, they're paying for the gas, they're paying for the insurance, but they're not allowed to physically drive it. They have to pay someone else to drive them.
They're literally paying, say their truck is $1,000 payment a month, then they're paying for all the fuel. They're paying a driver anywhere from $150 to $250 a day to drive them to work.
See, this was the stuff that you had told me that just blew my mind totally out of the water. Like, I was so shocked.
Yeah, because they're paying like okay, so for us, if we're paying $1,000 a month on a vehicle payment.
Well, that would be a bit insane. But
well, I'm just saying, that's what mine used to be, or close to it with that truck I had.
Wow.
So, okay, so say with a newer type vehicle, newer truck, you're paying...
Well, even if they're paying $200 a month, I mean, they're still paying for their vehicle and not even able to drive it.
The point that I'm trying to make is, okay, so I thought it was expensive to pay $1,000 a month.
It is.
Okay, so you're paying $1,000 a month, which comes out to $12,000 a year. On that vehicle payment. But what they're doing is they're paying close to $250 a day for a driver, and especially if the driver works with them, then it could go anywhere from $250 to $350 to $400 a day.
Right.
And plus the fuel on top of that.
Right.
So they're paying for like almost 3 new. Well, wait a minute. It'd be roughly they're paying for almost a brand new or 2 brand new vehicles a year.
Right, just to pay a driver.
Just to pay the driver.
Just because of their religious
restrictions on
saying that they're not allowed to drive it. So they still own it, they just can't drive it.
Right, because the owner's going to work too, so why the business owner is going to work as well, so he could just be driving his own vehicle.
Right. It's like buying it's like if we were to buy Emerald a horse and we're like, okay, here's you a horse, but you're never allowed to ride it. Pretty much. You can go outside and look at it, but you're not allowed to ride it. But your friend can drive it. Your friend can ride it.
Yeah, then you can ride on the back.
Yeah, you can ride on the back if your friend rides it, but you're not allowed to on your own.
That's much
basically what it is. It's just a bit wild. But yeah, so we'll be talking about all of that kind of stuff, and I don't know how much we'll get into the comparisons of the Amish thing because you don't really...
Right. I mean, if there's people that
they have questions, maybe, yeah.
If you have questions about something in particular, something certain that you would, want to know more about or whatever, then maybe we could talk about it in the next podcast. I don't know that I'll have the answer for it, but, I'll do the best I can in answering it as best as I can. But outside of that, this is kind of going to be a hash of...
just of randomness.
Of randomness, but also of getting not just the people out there that are listening to this, but also myself. It's for myself to raise my own awareness. Because when we're... actively involved in conversating, is that a word?
Yeah.
When we're actively involved in conversating about the more important things of life, sure, it's okay to talk about hunting, fishing.
Because I do like fishing, and I do love kayaking and traveling and all of that.
Right. So it's okay to talk about those things. I'm not saying that it's not okay. My point is that if that's all we're discussing, if that's all we're talking about, and we're never talking about the deeper things of life, what makes things work, what makes things function, what makes things do this, if we're not discussing those things, then we're a surface skater.
Right.
We're just going to be a damn surface skater our whole life, and we're not really going to learn anything of great value. Okay? So then someone could say, well, okay, so... You've done some of this stuff. You've been into some of this stuff. How much value has it given you? Well, I mean, that's a fairly decent argument, if you want to call it that. So, because has it given me value? In some ways, it has.
But in a lot of ways,
but in a lot of ways,
bonkers.
Well, in a lot of ways, it's also been very taxing. It's been very. But here's the thing. I can go back and talk about for these people that have this question. What good has it done for you? Getting involved in that sort of thing and talking about and investing your energy into that sort of thing. They have a valid argument. What good has it done for you? Well, it's kind of like this. The way that I see it, okay, so if somebody is questioning that, has that question about me and about what I believe and what I'm involved with, okay, it's the same way about when their Amish family asked them when they left the Amish, what good is it doing you to do more research into the Bible or do more research into this, that, or the other? What good has it done for you? They have that same question about you as you do about me. Mm-hmm. So the point being is, you broke the mold and went beyond that forbidden wall of, don't go there.
Right, and usually the more we do know, the more we
know,
find out that we don't really know much, and so it just keeps on being this thing.
The more we know, the less we know. That's basically what it boils down to.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that
But that don't mean that we should stay sheltered and ignorant.
Right, and it doesn't mean that we're dumber than we were prior. No, we're obviously more intelligent, because the more we look into things, the more research that we do and all of that, we do become more intelligent. The point being is, though, that there is so much to learn in life that we actually find out that we know less. Mm-hmm. We know less because there's so much more to learn.
Right.
So basically, the people that are surface skating,
they think they have it figured out. They think they know it all.
Right.
They think, but then when they lift up the hood and start really looking into it, then it's like, well, shoot, I really didn't know much of anything.
Well, first of all, they have to get to the point where they start looking into things before they'll even come to that conclusion.
Exactly.
Because they already think they know everything.
Right.
Or they think they know most everything.
Right.
So it's like, well, they have no need to check into anything any further because they've got Jesus, they've got the Bible, they've got Christianity, they've got God, they've got whatever. Well, that's a very, very shallow understanding and way of looking at life. I mean, if you think you have Jesus and that's all it takes, then, you've missed the boat by, I know a lot of people aren't going to like to hear that, and that's maybe a whole other podcast.
Well, that is a whole different episode. Right,
to go into the depth of what I'm even referring to with that. But the point being is that, does anyone that sees themselves as being a Christian, do they how much depth do you think that entails when we say that all we need to know is Jesus? I don't think that that's all that it entails, because even in the Bible it talks about knowledge. My people die due to a lack of what? Knowledge. Okay, so if it was all just about knowing Jesus and honky-dory, you've got it made. Well, then what's that verse talking about? My people are dying due to a lack of knowledge. Well, that means that there is knowledge out there that you're not looking into, that you're not willing to look into, because you want to live in this fictitious, under this fictitious impression.
But now with our first episode, we're already going to be canceled.
Yeah, we're already going to be canceled. We may as well hang this up. But the whole thing is that when we look at things as shallowly as is shallowly a word?
Sure.
But when we look at if it's not a word, then I'll blame that on my Amish background.
You are still American.
But anyway, if we're looking at things from that shallow of a perspective, that all we need to know is Jesus and we're set free. No, that's
to me, the way I see it is, it's almost like saying whatever my mom and dad says is it. That's final. I don't have to do any of the research on anything. Period. I don't have to have my own thoughts. I don't have to have my own feelings.
Exactly.
I can just say Jesus knows it all. I love Jesus, I care about Jesus, and then I can just go about my life and not even look into anything again.
This is where we're really going to get canceled.
Right.
The Jesus mentality that all you need to do is believe in Jesus.
This was not where this first episode was supposed to go by any.
That mentality is meant to create robots. It's meant to create robots.
It is.
Because
it's fear-based. It's don't question things. And it gives the illusion that
it gives you the illusion that you really don't have to go after anything. You don't have to seek knowledge. It gives you the illusion
that you're safe and loved and protected, but in reality, you're just being deceived.
You're a surface skater. Right. You're given the permission to be a surface skater because if you do something wrong, Jesus forgives you if you ask for forgiveness. So you can continue to be a surface skater. You don't have to seek for the knowledge.
Right.
Because what's the point? Jesus knows it all. He's, whatever. And I know it varies individually, with different people. It varies. Some people see it a little more in depth than that. But most of Christianity, what I have come to discover with the people that I know that are Christians, most of them are of that that mindset that when you give your heart and life to Jesus, you're set. You're set for life. You don't have to worry about going to hell. Sure, you might have to ask for forgiveness on occasion, this, that, and the other. But
because you're human and you mess up.
Right, because you're human and we all do. We all do mess up. Except
for me. I mean, I'm perfect.
Well, yeah, same here. but the whole thing is, it has given society the illusion that you accept Jesus and basically, not that nothing else is required, but basically that you're protected. You're protected.
Yeah, you have mommy and daddy supporting you.
Exactly.
And you don't have to do anything else.
Exactly.
You don't have to ask questions.
Exactly.
You don't have to think about anything else.
And now how would that be if we had that same, and we basically do, because we'll tell our children, but here's the kicker. We'll tell our children up until you're 18 years old, you basically are protected, you're basically provided for and all of that by mom and dad. But that's not for eternity. That's only for a very short period of time. So basically what we do is we then use that same principle for the adults, but this is for eternity.
Right.
For the children, it was only until they become adults, and then for us, as we become adults, now it's for eternity with our Heavenly Father. So it's like, just because, somebody believes, that Jesus paid it all for them, and that's the end-all, be-all, and whatever. And I know, like I said, it varies among Christians, because some believe that basically you're bound home free and all of that, that you're protected, you're loved forever, you're cherished, and all that stuff. Now, some of them believe that there's some work required to gain the knowledge and understanding, the comprehension of how things work. So some of them believe that a little bit, but most of them don't believe that in depth.
Right.
They don't believe that in depth. Now, unless they believe in that you have to study the Bible in depth. They'll believe in that. Some of them will believe in that. But the point being is, the Bible is not even fully intact. So now you're teaching that the Bible is the end-all, be-all because it's the Word of God.
Right.
It's the ultimate authority, the ultimate Word of God.
It's been translated a million times.
Yeah,
by
it's been translated a
gazillion
times. And it's been withdrawn from, it's been added to, the words have been changed, and so the meanings have changed, because what means one thing in one country or in one language doesn't necessarily equate to the same thing in the English language. So, and then we get into the whole English spelling.
Right.
Okay, so they put the English spell on us by giving us words that don't equate or add up to the same definition that the words from another language do.
Like we said, a pair who rents.
It's a pair who rents. Well, they didn't tell us that, but they told us that.
Right.
They told us in the abbreviated version that you're just a pair who rents.
Exactly.
Who are we renting from? The government.
Exactly.
Caesar. But yet Christians all seem to be perfectly okay with that. All the Christian churches are fine with the government renting their children from the government. But most of them don't even know that's what it implies. They don't even know that that's what's going on.
Right, because people just say the words, they just go through the motions,
but because they know Jesus, they don't have to know that.
Right.
In their way of believing and thinking. If I'm wrong, feel free to comment and tell
and
me.
Don't cancel us yet.
Well,
let us get to episode 5.
Honestly, I don't care. I don't even care if we're canceled.
5.
I don't care if we're canceled. I'm not basing.
I'm
not basing what the content is that I'm going to be putting out there. The whatever based on whether I'm going to get canceled or not.
No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, I figured you were. But if we get canceled, we get canceled. Guess what?
We'll just start a new one.
We'll just start a new one, and then we'll do like Satan does. We'll pretend like we're one thing.
That's one thing about us. We definitely don't pretend like we're something we're not. That's for sure. So we put it all out there. But anyways, but I do like fishing, and I do like talking about those things too. I do like that. Before we met, I actually was solo camping and traveling and kayaking all over the place. And for me, it was more about mental health and all of that. That's what I'm passionate about. I don't really care so much about religion anymore because that's just that wasn't really a big thing for me. Like, it's never been a big thing for me. I just don't really care that much about it. I do believe in a higher being. I do believe in, energy, all of that stuff, but I'm just not really I don't really care about the whole religion umbrella much.
It makes sense.
But I do care more about mental health and all of that stuff.
Right.
That's what's had a bigger impact in my life. So I do want to talk eventually about, I was solo kayaking all over the place and working on my own mental health and healing and all of that in a different kind of way. So eventually I do want to talk about those things as well. So it'll be a little bit of everything, just whatever.
Yeah, and if you guys want to throw, just ask questions or see if we have any interest in talking about certain topics. I may not know anything about it. We may not know anything about it. So then we'll just say, we don't know. We don't know shit about it. and if we do know something about it, or if we feel like we know something about it, or
if we can put our 2 cents on it, or our perspective,
our
or
perspective, and take it for what it is. Maybe down the line we'll see where we were wrong, and we'll change our stance on it.
Yeah, because that's the whole point of life, is to grow and evolve, and not to think that we already are at the ceiling of knowledge, but to know that there's still more to...
We're well beyond the ceiling of knowledge.
There's still so much more out there we don't even know or haven't heard of, or...
And I think that's one thing about me, the posts that I've made over the years, I think a lot of people have gotten the impression, and maybe they haven't, but it just seems like some of the responses that I got on a lot of those posts, that people were under the impression that I was trying to bash the Christians, that I was trying to bash this, that, or the other. And okay, so you could say, well, you did curse, you did. Well, it wasn't that necessarily. Okay, so here's how I'm going to break this down. Okay, now we're going to go into a more lengthy
I thought we were ending this conversation.
I know, I did too. But here's the thing. Okay, so the conservatism movement, the conservative people movement, when Trump gets on TV and he says the F word, or he says, we're really going to fuck them over, or something like that. The conservatives are all, even the Christians, they're all clapping their hands and are caught up in the internet. Yeah, he can say whatever he wants to. But then when someone like myself says it, because I'm coming against, in a sense, the way they see it, I'm coming against something that they believe in, something that they hold near and dear to their own heart. Now, if I use the F word to describe that, now all of a sudden I am the devil.
I'm
mad. Angry.
You're feeling like
I'm
you
just taking it out on them. I hate them. And all that, they conjure up all this bullshit in their own head. When the reality of it is, if Trump would have said the same thing about the Democrats, they would have been all clamoring and up in arms and supporting him, to the last dying breath.
Right.
But when I do it about their stance on life, their belief in life, then all of a sudden I'm the bad guy. It's like, wait a minute here. Remove yourself from the equation. Remove your personal feelings.
Well, that's what a lot of people can't do.
They can't do it.
A lot of people can't do that. They're instantly offended. They instantly just think that you're against them if you're saying something that they don't feel.
If you're just speaking from the heart.
Exactly.
You're just speaking from the heart. Yes, it might not look good. It might not feel so good. But the whole point is the premise of what is being talked about, is it true? Is it, if we take our own feelings of how we feel about said conversation, if we remove our own feelings from that conversation and our own person from that conversation, is what is being said, is there any truth to it?
Right.
And if there is, then maybe it's worth listening to. And not being offended by the curse words,
just
not
having
being
an
offended.
open mind and looking into it.
You know, the whole thing, the reason why I curse in a lot of cases is because if I take the whip across somebody's head like Jesus did, oh, he took it across the table, sorry.
Stop that.
If I would take the whip to somebody for their screwed up beliefs, then
he threw the table over upside down.
So if I would do that, I would be arrested and thrown in jail. Well, if I curse, I don't get arrested for that. So, you know, take it up with
passion.
Jesus.
It's passion.
Yeah, it's passion. That's basically what it boils down to. I'm a passionate, loose-headed, unhinged, you know, whatever you want to call it, refer to it as. Sometimes I'm passionately wrong. And, you know, I'm okay with that.
You are totally fine with someone telling you that you're wrong, and if they can follow it up with facts, with evidence, with things that support why you're wrong. You are very open-minded in that perspective. Like, you're not one of those people that just has their opinion and then it's your way or the highway.
And then I get stuck on it.
Yeah, you don't. I've watched you change your opinion on things.
I have, and this is what a lot of people refuse to acknowledge. That's where people don't.
Yeah, they don't
refuse to acknowledge that about me. And I shouldn't say a lot of people. Good Lord, there hasn't been that many people.
There's like 5 people.
Right. Well, I mean, over the years.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm talking about over the years, not just necessarily on. But there's been a lot of people that have interacted with over the years.
Right.
On social media and in person.
Right.
And the funny part about it is, I've had far more people agree with me in person than I have had.
That's why I was saying a podcast would be good.
Yeah.
Because when you read what you write.
Right.
Then it can come across like, well, golly, this person's just an asshole.
Right.
But when you talk to you, like when I talk to you in person or other people talk to you in person, it's like you really are super humble, super generous, super kind and understanding, and you can have a conversation without that 1950s mentality of it's your way or the highway. Right.
Well, I mean, that was quite the, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not even sure there's a word out there to describe it. You just you know, basically, you know, you what you just got done saying about how I am, who I am, whatever, was, you know, very accurate. You know, to me it was very accurate because that's how I feel about it.
But then when someone reads your post, it's like,
yeah,
you come across like a brick wall, probably.
Right.
You know, to be honest.
No,
and it's because it does come from such passion.
Right.
And then they're not really having a conversation because you'll post something so long. I don't even know if they're reading all of it.
Exactly.
They're just making they're skimming through it. They're taking whatever jumped out at them, which was probably not even taken the way that it was intended to at all. So that's why I think having these conversations where people can hear is going to be better.
What happens in the written word, whether it's me writing it or Jesus Christ writing it, what happens in the written word
people
is oftentimes we don't want to take the time to read the entire thing.
Right.
So then we start getting into misunderstandings, assumptions, and whatnot.
And then also people are reading these things from their tone of voice in their own head.
Right.
So they're not reading it
from my tone of voice or from my experience.
Right.
So they're
just
reading
like
it
when
from
we
their
first
own.
got together, and you would text me something, I'm like, good Lord, what is his problem? But then in person, it's like, oh, you wasn't even mad at me.
Yeah, see?
I was reading it from my tone of voice.
Exactly. That's the whole point.
So I think a lot of it can kind of show us where we're unhealed a little bit and still have work to do because we're reading these things, you know, from
our own perspective.
Our own perspective and our own
unhealed
voice.
Perspective.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, with a lot of people, is the way that they're understanding it, the way that they're receiving it, is from their own unhealed perspective. So,
and also their own fear too, because a lot of people that are Christians, and I'm not saying all, I'm saying a lot of them, they don't want to question anything because they do have that fear. It's like, oh my gosh, if I question this, I'm not
what else
Christian
do I have
enough.
To stand on?
Well, yeah, it's like I'm not Christian enough, or I'm not going to go to heaven, or I'm not going to, be loved,
it's fear-based.
Or whatever. It's just all this fear-based, and I don't operate from a fear-based thing.
You're 100% right about that. It is in many cases.
So they just shut that door.
It's fear-based, and it's also, well, there again goes back to fear, but it's also the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and also, you know, for whatever reason, it's easier to believe that we have it than it is to admit that maybe we don't have it. You know,
and see, that's why I'm where I'm at with my views on it, is because I never had it. I would go to church, even as an adult sometimes, I would make myself go to church so I could get it, so I could feel what these people are feeling.
Right,
you know what my mom and dad said, they just had it. Like, they just knew Jesus in their heart and whatever.
I did too.
And I never had that. I always had to, like, pretend like,
see,
I don't know. I just felt like I had to go through the motions so that I wouldn't be called
crazy.
out on it. Like, I just never
right.
felt that.
You never got
Now, I did feel the love. Like, you go into a church,
right.
you feel welcomed, you feel invited. I felt the love, but
right.
I never felt that whatever that spark was that Christians have.
The spirit
I never
moving,
felt that. No. I felt that when I would get in my kayak by myself on a river.
Right.
And I'm connecting with, and I just got chills, and I'm connecting with Mother Nature.
Yep.
I'm listening to the birds, and I feel the wind around me, and I can feel the water underneath the kayak. That, to me, is more of a connection than sitting in a church listening to someone tell me how I should feel.
But see, here's the deal with that. See, now we're going, what is
I don't know,
hour 3?
Hour 4.
But anyway, so, okay, when I first left the Amish, because we were so oppressed to some extent, not necessarily us because we were still children, but we saw what our mom and dad went through and how oppressed they were with the rules and regulations that had been forced upon them.
Yeah, because y'all got pretty much kicked out because you got natural gas.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other conversation. But now where the hell was I going with that? What were you talking about before?
Just how I felt more connected and more whatever when I was out in nature.
Right. So what I was going to say with that is, so I leave the Amish having the experience that I had, and then I get involved with the non-denominational Christians. And it was such a different experience because they were so open, they were so inviting. Okay, and I had not experienced that in the Amish community. So to me, it was like, well, this is Jesus.
Right.
This is Jesus. You know, and I didn't question. I didn't look into.
Yeah, because you didn't need to question.
I didn't because they had that.
It felt good.
They had enough love there to make it feel good.
It felt good.
It felt good, and no doubt that most of them were being genuine. They were being genuine about it.
They truly are.
Right. So the point being is that sucked me in so hard that I had the spiritual experiences that you're talking about that you didn't have. Mm-hmm. I had almost every one of them, and then some.
Right.
I mean, I fell out of the spirit,
and
I truly felt it. I fell out of the spirit numerous times in many, many different churches. Some churches were, like the Baptist, non-denominational, whatever you want to call them. So I had many different of those kinds of experiences in different of those churches. However, with that being said, is where I discovered then years later that
what is it?
We're basically our own generators.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. I feel like the universal energy, the creator energy, whatever created us, that energy does come to us in the form that we're going to be able to understand and perceive it.
Right.
So if you're in a church and that's where you feel connected and that's where you are in that time of your life, of course it can come to you. But it didn't feel natural to me. I felt like I was out of my element.
I felt like
I did not associate in that way.
Feel that.
So I felt it when I finally just left society, basically, and went solo traveling by myself and was camping and doing all of that stuff. Then I started feeling that energy, that feeling inside of me.
And that's where I'm at more now.
And that's what, So in the garden, when you were gardening last year, you felt it, I'm sure, plenty of times. But it's just, it does come to you where you are in your life.
And with that being said, also, it comes in from this perspective, I feel, personally. Okay, so Christians, and it's not that I'm knocking them, it's not that I'm whatever. It's just, it's just
as a blanket, as a whole.
It is that they see things through a very narrow lens. And if it's not that way, then it doesn't exist, or it's not right, or it's not godly, or it's not this, or it's not that. When the truth be known is, if we're all our own self-generators, we can feel it no matter whether we're at the bar getting drunk, We can feel it whether we're at the whorehouse doing whatever.
Now I disagree with there being.
Can.
Well, you can.
The point
but
is,
there are certain things I feel like we shouldn't be doing.
Here's the point.
Morally.
You know what? I'm about ready to crawl down your throat. Listen to what I'm trying to tell you is this. What I was getting ready to say is this. Having said that, if we're actually genuinely wanting to learn, okay, when we're first starting out, we can experience this awakening no matter where we're at.
Absolutely.
But eventually, after so much time passes and you're still genuinely in that movement of awakening, you're going to start drifting away from all those things.
Oh, absolutely. No, I fully agree.
You're going to start, and it might take, it depends on the person. It might take 3 months, and he'll drift away from all of that stuff. It might take 3 years to fully drift away from all that stuff. So the point being is we can't judge our life according to what the other person is experiencing because we're all experiencing things differently. So,
and our perspective and our interpretations and our feelings and intuition is all operating differently too.
Exactly.
But yeah, when I was spiraling out of control and going to the bar and stuff, I mean, there were different conversations that would happen that did make me start thinking more and make me, I mean, just bizarre stuff that was like, this is the universe talking to me. This is, I got chills again. This is like, you know, hey, wake up. This is not where you belong.
And see,
then you start getting away from those habits, away from those things, because it don't fit with you anymore. But you don't have to go to church to do that.
And this is where Christians will have a problem with what you just got done saying. Because you called it the universe and not God.
Right.
Okay.
And I call it the universe because
it's
I
universal.
I don't feel like I'm right. I don't feel like I'm the know-all, be-all on what we're going to name something. So it's still creator energy. It's still the universal. It's that.
It's universal energy.
That's exactly what
because
it
applies to all.
I don't think it's
a he
and it's in all. I think it's just energy.
Right.
It's literally this creator energy. It's what created everything. It's the God that everyone refers to, in my opinion.
Well, no, it's not.
But not the money God.
Well, here's the thing. The God that they're referring to, it's the God that they want to believe in.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. This other layer up here.
But it's not the God that the church is presenting to them.
Right.
The God
that's a whole other
The God that the church is presenting to them is the God on the money that says, in God we trust.
Exactly.
Which is Moloch, Bullock, whatever the hell that all is. I don't know. I don't know all the terms and definitions and all.
But to me,
that's
more of the made-up whatever hoopla from the government just to control everybody. It's not the universal creator, the all be all. That's what I'm saying.
That's the point. Is the God?
That's why I just call it the universe.
The God that the government pushes, the God that the Christian churches push, is all the same God.
Exactly.
It's all Baal, it's all Moloch.
And this is where they're definitely going to get into a frenzy because most people don't see it that way that we do.
And that's fine.
But if people will give us a chance and just keep hearing our conversations, do some of their own research, I think they'll see what we're saying if they can step out of their box and not be defended, not feel like their whole entire
life is ending. Yeah. Because life isn't ending.
No, it's just
you're transitioning.
You're not going to go to hell because you're questioning something. No. As a matter of fact, you'd probably be more praised because you question something.
Well, first of all, I think we all learned that, especially talking about the ones that come from the same background I do, is the fact that if you never would have bothered to question, you would have never came out of it.
Then you'd still be Amish and paying somebody else to drive you around.
And what does the Bible say? It says, "Come out of her, my people." Come out of her. What is he referring to? He's referring to coming out of the box that so-called society or people or your friends, family or whatever have stuffed you into, or religion has stuffed you into. So come out of her. Come out of the freaking box that you were put into and see it from a new perspective.
Exactly.
It's like taking...
And it's okay to do that.
It's like taking the wine out of the old wineskin and putting it into a new wineskin. Look at it from a new perspective.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think everyone at different parts of their life should be taking the sunglasses off and just looking at things from another perspective. Literally take the sunglasses off.
No, you can keep them on. Who cares? Whatever. but yeah, it's the whole thing with this podcast is okay. I think we're going to bring it to a conclusion,
either
to a crashing conclusion or or a slow one. But in any event, I guess we kind of have two different directions that we kind of want to go with this. You've got one way, I've got the other way. Yeah. But, maybe we'll mix it together.
Yeah, because I don't really want two separate podcasts, and I think everything kind of goes under one umbrella anyways when it comes to...
Right, because it's all connected.
When it comes to religion, when it comes to plant medicine, when it comes to mental health, it all goes into one big
together.
Slew of things. Homesteading, all of it.
It might not all tie in together as far as it's all connected in a bad way, but it does all tie in together as it's all needed.
Yeah.
It's all needed to get us to...
roundedness into life.
To elevate our consciousness, to elevate our health, to elevate our mental health, our physical health, all of it.
Yeah, and we're not really gonna, like with my YouTube channel and stuff that I've been doing, I mean, I have kayaking videos, I have baking videos. I don't like to be niched down into one little box. I like to just be who I am, and our conversations are the same way. We're always all over the place.
Exactly, and it makes it more interesting.
But with the same, I mean, we have different topics that we are passionate about, so we'll be going over all of that. So pretty much whatever.
Yeah, and I feel like I probably, if we go back and listen to this, I probably ran over top of you here and there.
Well, I think I did, you too.
But the whole thing is, it's because I realize now that we're doing this, and I've been wanting to do it for a while, and we haven't done it, and I haven't done it.
Well,
even before I was with you.
Even before I was with you, I wanted a podcast. So I've been talking about this for years.
This has been boiling in my veins, so to speak, for, hell, I don't know, and probably most of my life, actually, because I've always had the desire to
raise awareness, basically.
Raise awareness, but also to communicate.
Yeah.
I love communicating. And I love communicating to the very depth that I know of how to communicate. I might not have the full understanding, but I love to communicate. But you want to
get into the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, it's like I love to communicate it to the point to where the understanding becomes more focused and more aware and more understandable.
Right.
More comprehensionable. Is that a word?
Probably.
I'm just going to throw a bunch of half Amish, half English words into it and call it a day. But anyway.
Yeah, if you're still listening and hanging on to us, maybe you could comment or whatever.
Share
what you want to hear about, like what topics you want us to talk about. We both have different perspectives on some stuff.
I think the damn thing quit on us.
No, it's still going.
Well, how do you see?
It's moving.
It's not in the play mode.
But anyways, well, that's because we're not playing it. We're still recording. But anyways, if you're still listening, then just comment, maybe what you want us to talk about. If you have questions about his Amish background, if you have questions about, just whatever
Cuban
the heck.
background.
Well, I don't have a lot of perspective on my own Cuban background because my dad is from Cuba, not me.
Yeah, but a good Cuban cigar never hurt anyone. Whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, just any questions that you guys have, just whatever. Yeah. We'll talk about it next time.
Yeah, and like she said, feel free to share it. If you don't want to share it, don't share it. If you want to get on there and, tell me I am totally loose in the head, get on there and tell me I'm loose in the head. I don't really care. I mean, I know where I stand. I'm comfortable with where I stand.
And we're also comfortable with being open-minded and hearing perspectives.
Exactly.
But I also know that we've reached a point in our life where we're not going to go backwards with our thoughts either. But
and we're not just going to allow stupid, nonsensical bullshit to cloud the vision of where we're going, what we've learned, and all of that. We didn't go through the hell of life to be controlled
and
by
become complacent.
Right, to become complacent and be controlled by other people's opinions.
But we also want to talk about gardening and organic ways of doing things. So all of these topics are things that we're passionate about. So just pretty much whatever.
Right.
Homesteading.
So it's going to be a big old mishmash of...
Yeah, until we kind of figure out...
Mishmash of...
And then Emerald's got her own 2 cents.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, tell them how you really feel, because you're really going to become vocal at some point. Yeah. Aren't you?
All right, let's say bye. Yeah. Thanks for listening.